Yeah, I broke out my Lakers hat today. They beat the Celtics, man. Look, I'm a pragmatic fellow. You know I'm never going to suggest anything fantasy-wise on the Lakers unless it really, really sticks, because for many years that team was a fantasy disaster. But, man, you beat the Celtics. You got to enjoy it for a minute. Also, I've been just shoveling Trader Joe's olive oil popcorn into my face all morning. That crap is good. If you're wondering why it seems like I'm in a good mood, it's not because the Lakers beat the Celtics. That helps, but that doesn't really dictate my mood on a day-to-day basis. It's because both of my children are at school. I got 7 hours of sleep last night, uninterrupted by man nor beast. I have so much energy right now, I don't even know what to do with myself. My sinuses are still a disaster. I'm still coughing because the flu takes apparently well over a week to go away. But just from like a straight how do I feel standpoint, I'm rocking and rolling, baby. And this is what we're talking about on today's show. Thursday's recap. These are the 8 biggest stories I thought out of Thursday. Jeremy Sohan is back as part of the Paris Accords. No, the Paris series. Franz is back. Franz Wagner back for the Magic. Time Lord had himself a fill-in game that we adored because it's a beautiful thing. And there's more going on in Portland that we'll talk about in a little bit because news just broke. Scoot Henderson, by the way, soiled himself. Jalen Johnson hurt his other shoulder, came back from one. Now it's the other. Onyeka Okongwu is going to powerbomb everybody. Kel'el Ware, same thing, also powerbombing everyone. And Kobe White is out a week or more. What does this mean for Ayo Dosunmu and Lonzo Ball? We didn't get a whole lot of information on that front because Chicago got smashed in their game yesterday. But hopefully we'll learn something more. And I think we got a little out of it that we can probably talk about. Before we get to the full box score, I almost called it a box score breakdown. That was one of our other shows back at the old spot. I am Dan Bespris. Welcome to Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. Find me on Twitter at Dan Bespris. I know Twitter sucks. I'm not going to argue with you on that, but it also is the fastest place to get basketball information. So find me over there, DanBesbris. It is still the best way to guarantee that you're near the top of your fantasy league because you get your information faster than everybody else. You're going to make pickups faster than everybody else. You're going to have news faster. That is the most important thing during the middle parts of an NBA season. I am Old Man Squad over on Blue Sky, Old Man Squad Fantasy on Instagram. But again, that's just for video shorts, which those are fun, mind you, but they're not going to give you everything that you need to succeed at fantasy sports. Hit the like button on the video as you're settling in. Make sure you subscribe. That's a big one. We saw a nice little jump in subscribers over the last 24 hours. I don't think it's a surprise because we actually are putting out content again because I'm over the flu and the fires have mostly passed. And, heaven forbid, we actually have time to do content. So thank you to all of you that have taken the time to subscribe. And thank you to those that have continued to hit the like button on our trade deadline live show that cleared 600 pre-likes overnight. We're at 601. 750 is the new readjusted goal since we lost 2 weeks of pressuring you guys to hit that button. So please do that as well. And no, you know what? That's it. That's what we're going to do. Let's begin. San Antonio and Indiana, they played the first of their 2 games in La France. The next one will be tomorrow. Victor Wembanyama, not surprisingly, in front of a hometown audience, was special and would have been the line of the night if not for Nikola Jokic playing a few hours later. Devin Vassell was great. Harrison Barnes had a good ball game, but you can ignore that because he ain't shooting 9 out of 10 most days. Jeremy Sohan back 13-9-3 with a 3-pointer, 6 out of 9 shooting. He belongs in a lot of fantasy lineups, probably not at 18 minutes. I know this is a good line, but he's not going to be able to do it consistently in 18. So maybe wait till he ramps up, and then you get Sohan back in your lineups where he fits. He's not really a straight 9-cat guy. Kind of maxes out near like 95 to 115 in straight 9-cat. That's when everything's breaking right for him. Punt free throw builds, punt threes builds, he makes a whole hell of a lot more sense. Look at Devin Vassell. That's a great line, man. You knew it was coming. It's just a matter of time. On the Indy side, a lot of crap. Andrew Nemhard continues to be a punt threes play only, and then everything else is the same as always. Miles Turner got out. Miles Turner was the Miles Turner you wanted on your team until Victor Wembanyama came along, and now you want him because he's Miles Turner but stretched out like an additional 5 to 6 inches taller with like a foot longer wingspan. And not surprisingly, he lost that battle. Think about if you played any game against a souped-up version of yourself. You probably lose that. I'm thinking about like video games where you have to play like a shadow version of yourself, but that's a slightly souped down. Anyway, there's no stories there. Portland blew out Orlando. The good news let's start with the Orlando Magic on this. We'll come back to Portland because they're a little more loaded. The good news for Orlando is they got Franz Wagner back. He played 24 minutes in his first game, had 20 points, 4 rebounds, took 19 shots in 24 minutes. That's a lot. And was a minus 13. Paolo was absolutely terrible. 8 and 9, 6 assists, couple of blocks. He shot 1 for 14 from the field, 6 of 8 at the foul line with 5 turnovers. And he was one of those guys, too, like, the sad thing with Banchero is that he got off to this really quick start to the year, and then the injury derailed him. And since he's come back, he's just like, he's not even within striking distance of fantasy value. I don't think he ever gets back to what he was doing at the beginning of the year because I don't think that was sustainable anyway. There was one of the greatest sell-high bubbles of all time after Paolo's first week of the season, and it's never coming back. If you have him, you ride it out. If you don't bother unless you can get him for pennies. Franz, you're not going to be able to trade for now. Now that he's back, whoever waited for him is going to want to see how this thing shakes out, so don't worry about that too much. I do believe that Franz and Paolo being back together means that Cole Anthony is probably dead meat. You can hold for one game of him being healthy and see what happens, but I also think we know the answer to that question. And then I got a couple of questions on what I thought Goga Batadze was going to do going forward. I think he's actually still going to be okay because Wendell Carter Jr. is bad and Mo Wagner is out for the year. So I'm going to hold on Goga, provided he's not out too much longer. Hold as long as your team can handle it. BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for, what's it for? Online betting in the year 2025. Whether you're a seasoned veteran, an intermediate, a first-timer, welcome to the madness. BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. They'll take you from touchdowns to three-pointers and hat tricks and cover you on every game, every play, and every win, presumably while you cover. Hey-oh. With the largest section of odds on everything from football to the NBA and college basketball, NHL, and UFC. Yes, I said selection. No, I didn't. I said section. Either way, BetOnline is the number one sports betting source for this new year. BetOnline, the game starts here. Big thank you, as always, to our amazing, amazing partners over at BetOnline. They are, listen, I don't pull back the curtain too far in the financial side of things, but working in fantasy sports is not exactly a hyper lucrative way to go in life. BetOnline is the reason, right now at least, that I don't have to charge anything for any single thing that I do. I can keep everything free because of BetOnline. So whatever you guys can do to support them, that supports this staying the way it is right now. Toronto beat Atlanta. Raptors have quietly been a little bit better lately, and that's even without Emmanuel Quickley. I think everybody's sort of due to be not as awful every once in a while. But more than anything, this was a nice road win for them. And only the second, you heard that right, second road win for Toronto this season. The Wizards only have one. The Raptors are 10-13 in Canada. That's not bad. It's not good. Anyway, Jakob Poeltl back up to a normal allotment with no foul trouble. He looks good. Kelly Olynyk has some calf issues. He still profiles as someone that could maybe be a silly season name again. Scotty Barnes is a go. RJ Barrett in your particular build might be a go, meaning you got to be punting free throws or turnovers or both. Grady Dick is a no. Bruce Brown at 18, 5, and 4 in 20 minutes. He's more of a deadline eyeball if he gets sent somewhere where he's going to get a more consistent role. He's putting up big numbers lately, but the minutes haven't been good enough for me to say, yes, this is a thing that we believe can stick. I don't think he takes 12 shots most games in 20 minutes. I don't think he makes 8 of them. And I don't think that's going out on a limb. Jalen Johnson hurt the other shoulder. That may be the biggest story of the day. Basketball Monster has him as an estimated missed time of about 2 weeks. We don't really know yet. But, they do a good job over there of reading the tea leaves. Hopefully it's not a huge thing. What a pain in the butt. He finally came back from the other one. What does it mean? Not a lot. It means that Vit Krejci can be a schedule play, but the main guys were the guys who were already playing, which is Hunter, who's had 2 bad shooting games in a row, but he'll be okay. Trae Young, Onyeka Okongwu, who's now just destroying as the starting center, and Dyson Daniels, who's going to get asked to do more like big man kind of stuff. Not center, but like big wing with Jalen Johnson out. The name to keep an eye on is Bogdan Bogdanovic. He's looked slow and, well, really just slow. He's looked slow all year, which I think you can pin on the injury stuff. But if that starts to shake off, if he starts to finally look like regular Bogdan, then you do something about it. But I don't think you need to do anything here. He hit 8 of 12 shots, not sustainable. No assists, no steals. It still doesn't feel right. Dallas got their sweet revenge. This is a pretty impressive win for a Mavs team without Luka Doncic. It's hard to beat the same team 2 times in a row. Not impossible, but for the Thunder, a rare defeat brings the Rockets back to within 6.5 games of the top-seeded Thunder, who, look, I mean, eventually everybody loses a ball game. For Dallas, we had the big Spencer Dinwiddie game you can ignore. The guys who are starting for the Mavs right now are Daniel Gafford, Kyrie Irving, and PJ Washington, who went crazy in this game. 22 and 19, 3 steals and 2 blocks. Good gravy. That's a hefty-sized game. Hefty. Jalen Williams, finally a big ball game. Oh, my goodness. It's been a long haul for him of looking downright bad. Got off to that insanely hot start, and he's just been chunking along for like a month now. So this was a sight for sore eyes. Hopefully it's the start of something. Shea was fine, but not as spectacular as usual, which apparently was the difference between losing and winning here. Cason Wallace had to leave this ball game early, which is a big downer. We don't even really know what the hell was going on, but he lost out on his last 4 to 6 minutes of playing time because of it. Still got his 7 rebounds and 2 steals. Still hit his 3-pointer, and basically did enough if you're in that punt points look. But if you were hoping for a full-throated fantasy line, you didn't get it. And I don't want to say that injury is the reason that you put him in the punt points bucket, but it does allow you a little bit of grace for a game like this one. So I still think Cason Wallace is a punt points play. He's a nice substitute if you didn't get your steals earlier on or if you traded some of them away. Because I have some teams where I ended up with like Freddie Van Vliet and Dyson Daniels and name some other player who has pretty good steals numbers. I didn't need all of them. I traded Dyson Daniels away for blocks in a lot of those leagues. I don't feel bad about it. I love Dyson Daniels, but team needed some other stuff. Miami was bad, but at least Kel'el Ware was awesome. 22 and 10 with a steal and a couple of blocks again. So there's a couple of things going on here. For one, don't worry about Nikola Jovic having a bad ball game. The Heat got blown out. So again, like usual, the stat lines were all over the place. Yes, Jimmy Butler got suspended for a couple of ball games. It does kind of feel like they're just going to try to keep him out as many games as they can until the trade deadline. But Jovic is the guy that's been stepping up there. So don't worry about that. Tyler Hero, obviously fine. I want to talk about Bam Adebayo and Kel'el Ware. And if you're like, oh, well, Ware is taking all the center stuff. I mean, Bam still had 14 rebounds in a blowout loss. So to that end, he was fine. It's just been, by all accounts, kind of a lost season for Adebayo. He's number 70 in 9-cat because he's shooting 45% from the field, 72% at the free throw line. The steals, the rebounds, the assists are all fine. The scoring is okay, but obviously it would be better if he was hitting his buckets. It's just a screwball of a year. With the preface that I wasn't into Bam on draft night. He was someone that we didn't fade Bam. I just thought he was going too early. So it was one of those things where, like, if he fell far enough, I would draft Bam, but he never fell far. He never fell far enough where I was interested in taking him. He was always going in the mid to late 30s, and I wanted him in the 40s. I had him wedged in there with Desmond Bane and DeJounte Murray and Derek White and guys like that. Bam always went before those dudes. So I never got him. That said, he's bad enough right now where I think you can go get him for pretty cheap. And I think that when this whole Jimmy Butler saga is over, I think we probably see Bam get a little bit better. I don't think it's going to be like a night and day thing where magically he just figures out everything that was going wrong this season. But I do think that he's being pretty significantly impacted by the chaos. I'm not so much worried about what Kel'el Ware is going to do. I am worried about what's going on around him. So Bam, who's number 70 overall and way worse than that over the last 3 to 4 weeks, you could probably get for, I don't know, Ivica Zubac. I would certainly consider it. Looking at other, if you want to just go like center for center, maybe Daniel Gafford would be an interesting one, although frankly, he might just outperform him the rest of the way. Onyeka Okongwu is intriguing if you want to take the buzz, or maybe you just try selling Kel'el Ware for Adebayo. I bet somebody bites on that. There's so much hype around Ware right now, and that's the other side of this thing. The Heat discussion today is, and this is like something we try to do on the show relatively frequently, an exercise in holding two thoughts in our brain at the same time. Thought number one is, we didn't really want Adebayo anyway, and thought number two was, but even still, he's a buy low. And then with Ware, thought number one is, he is exploding and super fun, and I want him on all of my rosters. But thought number two is, do I really think that this level of explosion is sustainable? Whoever the Heat bring back in a Jimmy Butler trade, which we got to think something's coming, whether it's Bradley Beal or someone else, that person's going to take usage. And Hero's going to take his usage, and Adebayo is going to ramp his back up again. So at some point here, Kel'el Ware is going to have a little bit of that rookie thing where the veterans say, nah, pull it back, big guy. This is still our freight train for now. And teams are going to start to game plan for him. And there's going to be a downtick. How big, I don't know. But he's not going to be rocking 2010 with 3 defensive stats every game the rest of the way. He's just not. So, 2 thoughts in our mind. 1, Kel'el Ware is awesome. But 2, could I trade him for like a top 50 guy right now and make out like a bandit? Maybe. Probably not top 50. I bet you could get top 65 range for Ware. There's some guys in that range that people are pretty annoyed with, like Jimmy Butler. An injured Isaiah Hartenstein, Miles Bridges. Could you get Austin Reeves? Probably not with as well as he's played lately. Could you get Chris Paul? Could you get an injured Cam Thomas? And would you want an injured Cam Thomas? That one's more of a maybe not. The Bucks, nothing really there. They took care of business quick in this one. Gary Trent hit 7 3-pointers, but you can pretty much ignore that. Bobby Portis had a better ball game, and again, the whole goal there was to try to sell high when you could, so hopefully not a thing you need to worry about right now. Sacramento at Denver. This was honestly kind of impressive that Sacramento cut it to 9 points at the end of this game because they were down like 25, I think, at the end of the third quarter. They still didn't cover. And the reason why is because the Kings played a hard-fought game against the Warriors the night before at home and then had to fly into altitude to play a Mountain Time game at 7 local time. Or 6? No, 7 local time. So not even 7:30. So they lost an hour. They played earlier, late travel into altitude. Those are the games that teams always get beat up. Always. Fantasy-wise, you start the starters. That's an easy one. Same story for Denver. Fantasy-wise, you start the starters. Look at this line for Nikola Jokic, though. 35, 22, and 17. I believe the stat I saw was that Jokic and Wilt Chamberlain are the only players ever to post lines like this. Ridiculous. Absolutely, positively ridiculous. Jokic is back to boat racing the world in per game value. Shea is ahead of him, by the way, by totals because of 5 extra games played, but nobody's remotely close to Jokic right now. How do you have Jokic on a fantasy team and not get at least second place? I don't know. He's a cheat code. Again, someone asked me if I like Aaron Gordon. I do not. Actually, as a human, I'm sure he's fine. As a fantasy player, I do not. Somebody also asked me if I was holding Christian Brown, whatever that was, a couple of weeks ago. And the answer was a resounding yes. And he's been actually quite good since then. Bulls were terrible. I don't think we can pin this all on Kobe White being out. Everybody was just bad. Vooch was bad. Giddey had a double-double. I guess he was okay. Levine was meh. Who are we more interested in on this Bulls team? Not those guys. Those are the guys that are fine. Jalen Smith is interesting. We talked about him as a trade deadline stash type that's not really doing anything right now because of Vooch. So he's a guy you'd have to be sitting on. Ayo Dosunmu with Kobe White out. I expect Ayo to get 30 minutes. If this game was competitive, I think he plays 30 minutes. And I think you're talking about probably 8, 9, 10 shots a game. But we need it to get to 10. That's the big key. Can we get Ayo to 10 shots a game? And I think while Kobe White is out, the answer is yes. So Dosunmu is a fill-in guy for me right now. Lonzo Ball is apparently, like, all the stories around Lonzo are that he's on the block. I have no idea what teams out there are going to want to take a shot on a dude who's playing his first pro ball in like 3 years. And he's looked fine, to his credit, but that's a big swing. And if you're the Bulls, you should basically just be asking to get off of the contract. You shouldn't be asking for anything else. Lonzo lately has been playable in most formats. This game was kind of borderline. So I'm kind of into both of them. And I'm especially into Ayo because, well, we've seen it before. When one of the usage guys is out, he tends to post value inside the top 80. And if that lasts through the deadline, which then lasts maybe through the rest of the year, you might just get yourself like a 7th rounder in Dosunmu. That's pretty good. For the Warriors, this one was all over the map because the game was over super early. Moody and Santos and Post and all these guys put up big lines. Brandon Pajemski coming back was actually kind of the big story for the Warriors, not because he's going to do some big stuff fantasy-wise, but because the Buddy Hield fill-in stream is probably cooked now. Ooh, throat and voice still feeling it a little bit right now. So, Wiggins, Curry. I'm going to hold Trace Jackson Davis. I know he only played 10 minutes in this ballgame, but I'm going to hold him. We'll give him just a little bit of wiggle room. And then Draymond Green, who's out. Those are the 4 Warriors that you're interested in. Everybody else you could just leave alone. Last 2 games were down in Los Angeles at 2 different arenas now. Yes, I know they can do that. Celtics were very, very tired. Not all of them. Porzingis didn't play the day before. Horford didn't play the day before. Drew Holiday didn't play the day before. The only one you could look at and say, that guy looks like he didn't play the day before was Porzingis. Everybody else was terrible. Some of it was Lakers defense. Some of it was just general fatigue. Celtics had to go to overtime against the zombie Clippers, and they paid for it. But no, you're not doing anything big here. Derek White remains your very large buy low, and I have nothing more to add. For the Lakers, you've got 3 horses. That's it. AD, LeBron, Reeves. That's it. Don't do anything else. Anybody else you're thinking about using for the Lakers? They're a schedule play only. I do think that at some point Max Christie probably gets out of his own head and goes back to being kind of that like 90 range kind of dude, but not right now. So drop away. Wizards, another blowout loss. They get blown out every single ball game at this point. It's actually insane how bad they are. Jordan Poole was solid. Alex Sarr was solid enough. Bilal Coulibaly, 15-5 with 3 steals, had some shooting issues as per usual. But here's the thing with Bilal. I talked about him on some stash episodes, shorts, and on social media. And people's response was, accurately, he's playing 30-plus minutes already. Yeah, it's not about the minutes for him. It's about getting Jordan Poole or Kyle Kuzma out of the way. I don't need Bilal Coulibaly to play a single additional second on the court. I'm not going to argue if he does, but we don't need that. We need him consistently, and he took 13 shots in this ball game, which I think is probably the number you're looking at. We need him consistently around 13 shots a game. Because if you're going to have bad percentages, you have to overwhelm them with counting stats. So we need his 12 points on the year to become 15. We need his 3.4 assists to be 4. We need the threes to go up from 1 to 1.3 or 1.4. It would also be nice if the percentages could inch up a little bit, and maybe they do when we get into silly season and nobody's guarding anyone, but you can't bank on that. But that's why I'm interested in Bilal. It's for those extra shots, getting him from 10.5 shots to 13 or 14. But the only way that happens is the surgical excision of a high usage guy. Most likely via the deadline or a shutdown. Bub Carrington's a name to keep an eye on at the trade deadline. He had a better ball game here, but I'm not starting him nightly yet. Jonas Valanciunas is a low upside trade deadline type of situation as well. And then on the Clippers, you got Kawhi back in the ball game again, and magically James Harden got better again. The efficiency still wasn't great for James, but he got the rebounds, he got the assists, everything just a little bit easier when Kawhi is playing. I do think that as Kawhi gets ramped up to full tilt, Norman Powell is going to take a hit. What kind of a hit remains to be seen. But so far this year, he's been able to reach this top 40 plateau on a crap ton of usage at crazy high efficiency. So if the usage comes down even in a small amount, he tapers off. So if you can get a top 50 guy back for Norm, you do it. If you get a top 60 guy back, I think I would do it. If the best you can get back for Norm is top 75, I probably would just stick with Norm so as not to upset the apple cart of whatever your team build is. Because somewhere between 60 and 90, I think, is where he falls back to after we see Kawhi get up to full strength. Zubats wasn't as good in this ball game, but who cares? You're not going to change anything you're doing. Derek Jones Jr. is a guy that I'm getting a couple of questions on. He's been solid lately, 2 big ones in a row, but we've seen him all season long. He's not just going to all of a sudden become whatever this is, a guy who takes 10 shots a ball game instead of 7.5 or 8. It's just not. Especially not as the Clippers are adding other guys who shoot the ball. I love the game. Great game for Derek Jones, but he's nothing more than a solid schedule play. So again, the big stories from yesterday, Jeremy Sohan is back. He's ramping up. So is Franz, but Franz you can probably roll with already. We never came back to Portland. My bad, guys. Let me get Portland back up on the screen here. You're probably yelling at me the entire last 20 minutes of this episode. We never got back to Portland, but guess what? I got to tell you about Underdog first. My buddies over at UnderdogFantasy.com. Oh, man, they are so much fun. We lost our play yesterday. We lost our play because I picked DeMar DeRozan under points instead of point, rebound, assist total. Oh, it breaks my heart, man. It absolutely breaks my heart. If we had gone DeMar DeRozan under PRA, take the lower on that one, instead of just points, then we would have hit it. And I would have won $60. You guys would have watched me win $60. Let's see what the card looks like today. First of all, need your guys' help on this one. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up today using promo code OLDMAN. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can actually see what's going on here on YouTube. Use promo code OLDMAN when you sign up to unlock up to $1,000 in deposit match bonus at a 50% clip and a free play, which is Patrick Mahomes over half a yard this coming weekend. You think he's going to get half a yard this weekend? I have a sneaking suspicion he's going to hit that. So that's a free play. Patrick Mahomes higher than half a yard. Man, how upsetting is that? So, short card today in the NBA. I don't know if I'm going to actually do a card with this one. Usually what a nice thing to do is to look at some of the stuff going on around the league. And maybe you can kind of catch a situation by storm. Portland would be an interesting one. DeAndre Ayton got ruled out. I don't know if you can take a lower on DeAndre Ayton or if that's going to get canceled out, but we'll throw it in the mix. And then another thing I would look at would be Donovan Clingan over or higher, maybe point, rebound, assist. Do we want to go higher there, or we want to just go higher on rebounds? I want to do something higher with Donovan Clingan because I think he's going to play 24, 25 minutes. I just don't know if that means it's going to be all boards or if he's actually going to score a little bit. They're playing Charlotte, so it's going to be fast-paced. We'll go higher on rebounds. Oh, your picks have to be from two different teams? All right, we'll take Ayton out of there, and let's go figure something else out. New Orleans and Memphis is the other one. Indy, San Antonio, that's tomorrow. I don't want to stretch this over 2 days. I got to go from two different games. That's disappointing. Let's see. What do we got here? How about Cleveland, Philly? Philly's going to get spanked, right? What do we think? We go Jared Allen. He's been playing well lately. Let's go Jared Allen higher. We'll go Jared Allen higher than 14.5. This is going to pay 2.82 to 1, and we're going to go very small on this one. This is a $4 wager. All right, here we go. We're in. So we're going to go Jared Allen higher than 14.5 points. We're going to go Donovan Clingan higher than 8.5 rebounds. I really wanted to fade DeAndre Ayton. That would have been a lot of fun. But on the chance that it gets canceled out, then we don't want it to get canceled out with us. So play along with me if you don't mind. Head to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use promo code OLDMAN, OLDMAN, or just click the link in the show description when you sign up. And when you make that first deposit, you get up to $1,000 in deposit match bonus and the freebie on Patrick Mahomes right now. Let's talk Portland on the fantasy side. Robert Williams played 24 minutes in a fill-in start. He was amazing with 8 and 12, a steal, and 4 blocks on 4 out of 6 shooting. I love me some Time Lord when he gets some fill-in action. Time Lord is out tonight on the back-to-back. DeAndre Ayton is also out, meaning it's Donovan Clingan time. He's going to play at least 22, 23 minutes, probably more. So expect a really big fill-in game for Donovan Clingan tonight. I don't know what's going to go on with the rest of these guys. We do know that Tamani Kamara, who's been dealing with a stomach ailment, is in. Anthony Simons is expected to play on the back-to-back. Hold on to Scoot Henderson. He was in horrible foul trouble. I think did he have 5 fouls altogether, or did he end on 4? No, he fouled out in 13.5 minutes. He had 4 fouls in like 9 minutes, and it didn't get any better from there. So this one will be better for him. Better opponent, so that'll certainly help. But I just expect a better game out of Scoot. Simons, you can play. Jeremy Grant, you try to sell since he's upright right now. I don't know that I would roll Kamara. I know he was good in this ball game, but I think it's because he was playing in front of friends and family. He said if his family wasn't there, he would have sat it out with the stomach ailment. So I would expect him to be pretty bad, actually. And then you can play Clingan as well. Okay, now we're actually done. I thought we were done, but we were not done. Shout out to UnderdogFantasy.com. Shout out to Bet Online. Follow me on Twitter at Dan Besbris. And please, you've got to subscribe. You must do it. Hit the button immediately. Like this show, like our trade deadline show on the way out. And we'll have our weekly review show dropping either late tonight or first thing on Saturday morning. I'm Dan for Old Man Squad. Trade deadline's coming soon. Stay tuned. We got a bunch of trade deadline stash shows with guests coming up over the next 2 weeks. That's going to be great. So long.